Hello, and welcome to our live stream review of The Exorcist Believer. You know who we all are, you know the routine, let's get this fucking shit over with. I'm going to start my review with a quote from Ed Whitfield. William Friedkin once said to me, "Ed, the guy who made the new Halloween is about to make one to my movie, The Exorcist. That's right, my signature film is about to be extended by the man who made Pineapple Express." I don't want to be around when that happens. But if there's a spirit world, and I come back, I plan to possess David Gordon Green and make his life a living hell. Well, it looks like I'm going to Walmart and buying a fucking Ouija board. And I'm summoning Freakin' back from the fucking dead. I'm just going to come out and say it. I fucking hate this movie. I knew this movie was going to be shit, but it ended up being a hell of a lot worse. Coming from someone who absolutely loves the original 1973 classic, this was a stupid, lazy, soulless, heartless, boring, generic cash grab. Was there anything redeeming in this movie? I guess it was shot well, and Leslie Odom Jr. did fine for what he was giving. I don't know if those are really positives. Strap in. There is no fucking reason to make this an Exorcist movie. If you take out all the references to the original classic, remove Reagan, Chris, quotes, etc., this is just another boring and generic possession movie. At first, Green is trying to copy Prisoners, kind of like how he tried to copy Christine with Halloween Ends. And then it's a Forced Legacy sequel that gets the point of the original wrong at every turn. Green is trying to do what he did with his Halloween movies, and he fucking fails even more. These two movies have the same problems as those movies. From the Forced Legacy characters that are sidelined, to the horrible dialogue, the forced on-the-nose themes that are so half-assed, community coming together to stop evil, that's supposed to be empowering, but it just comes off as fucking cheesy and stupid, etc. The acting from everyone is dull and boring. Nobody cared. Ellen Bernstein, she clearly didn't fucking care. She was there just for the paycheck. It's not surprising, considering that there are interviews of her saying, of her turning this down. And she probably needed a new fucking car. That's why she did it. The characters, they're all one note and boring. I barely remember anybody's names. Unlike the original classic, this movie is not fucking scary at all. You could say that the original is unintentionally funny. But at least there are still moments in that movie that still creep me out. The spider walk scene still fucking haunts me to this day. I just watched the original again to wash the taste of this movie out of my mouth. That part is still fucking scary. This, nothing was scary. All the scary scenes were hilarious. From the black girl beating up her dad, to the body and the blood. Chris getting her fucking eyes pulled out. Like what is... This isn't scary. What the fuck? And it also doesn't help that instead of the atmospheric scares we got in the original, Green decides to bombard the audience with goddamn jump scares. Like, really? Do you guys remember how creepy and, like, scary and sudden that first, like, Pazuzu face reveal was in the original? Like, there was no, like, poof! There was no loud noises. It was just sudden, like, holy shit! Do you remember that awesome, actually good jump scare from Exorcist 3? None of that is here. And when they do the fucking Pazuzu face reveals, it's just boom, loud noise, because that's fucking scary, right? How many times have we said it on this stream? Jump scares are not scary. They are annoying. At least the original had atmosphere, dread, and kept you on the edge of your seat. This had none of that. The pacing was fucking horrendous. This was so goddamn boring. I was looking at the time. By the time we hit the half-hour mark, the editing is atrocious, especially the first half. Like, it's so fucking choppy and just nonsensical. Yes, the first movie was long. Go back to the pacing. Yes, the first movie was long, but that had great pacing. I was never bored. Not once. I was invested from beginning to end. I did not give a fucking shit what was happening. The third act is so nonsensical, laughable, and messy. Like, with everyone trying to do their own exorcism methods, them bickering and arguing with each other because, get it? All religions and faiths don't get along. Get it? Nudge, nudge. We gotta unite together like a... the power is yours, like this is an after-school special or fucking Captain Planet. This movie is nothing but an insult to the original classic. The original is not just a possession movie. In fact, it's more about Father Karras. That's why the movie is called The Exorcist. It's about him losing his faith and getting it back to save this little girl's life. Hell, the novel is like a murder mystery. That's what makes the book so good. Has Green ever seen the original movie? Has he even read the fucking book? Overall, there should be a new law in the U.S. Constitution that states that it is illegal for David Gordon Green to do more direct sequels to any more beloved horror classics. Just because he got lucky with one good horror movie does not mean he should have the key to the castle and do this to any more fucking franchises. He failed twice with Halloween, and he already failed with The Exorcist. At least with the Halloween trilogy, it started off good and then quickly went to shit. This was a disaster from the fucking word go. This will easily be in my top 5 worst of the year. This is worse than Halloween Kills. Just as horrible and insulting as Halloween Ends. Fuck this movie. Do not watch it. I hope to God Green is not attached I hope to God Blumhouse gets the fucking memo and cancels this trilogy. I hope to God this movie fucking bombs. After this, I will not watch any movie if Green is attached to direct. I will not watch any movies in this trilogy. Watch the original. Watch Exorcist 3. Read the goddamn book instead. Fuck this movie. Fuck the writers. And fuck David Gordon Green. 1 out of 10. Movie graveyard.
Preach, my brother. Preach.
Rome, go ahead.
Okay, so I have a quote from the director William Friedkin about The Exorcist the Believer. It was a quote that he gave to Ed Whitefield, a film critic, about his thoughts about The Exorcist the Believer. Here's his quotes. That supposedly this is what he said. Ed, the guy who made those new Halloween sequels is about to make one of my movies, The Exorcist. That's right. My signature film is about to be extended by the man who made Pineapple Express. I don't want to be around when that happens, but if there's a spirit world, I can come back. I plan to possess David Gordon Green and make his life a living hell. Rest in peace to William Friedkin. He did pass away back in August, I believe so. So thoughts and prayers to his families and stuff like that. I mean, he one time called The Exorcist 2 the worst piece of crap he ever seen. He's lucky. Well, thankfully, he didn't see this movie. I mean, he probably did in the spirit world. There is a spirit world, and I hope he does make David Gordon Green's film career a living hell. Not his personal life, just the film career, because this guy just doesn't know how to make horror movies. With this movie, look, The Exorcist to me, I don't really see it as a masterpiece, but it is a film cinematic experience. It changed horror movies going forward after 1973. This movie, The Exorcist Believer, just throws every careness, every rule, everything that made everything about The Exorcist out the window, like Father Karras. This movie has no character development, no vision, no writing direction, no pacing issues. There's just nothing about this movie that says this is The Exorcist besides bringing back one of the legacy characters that you just don't care for. And she has a scene where she's just out of the picture for most of the movie, and that's pretty much it for her. And it's just why was this movie even made in the first place if there's no story, no character development, no director, no writer that actually is a fan of these movie of the first one and wants to give something that's respects the original, but at least something fresh that fits modern audience. If there's anything I liked about the movie, I mean, Leslie, I'm sorry, what's his name again? The actor Leslie, I think Odom Jr. He was okay. He did a solid performance, but he still wanted to throw his daughter in a mental institution, not care about her, and not try to help her. He just basically quit on her. So it's just kind of a head scratcher where he just good performance, but just the story that he was working with, it was just bad from beginning to end. And it's just the quote. There was a lot of dialogue in this that was very cringy. It made no sense. You got some of it where it's kind of like you have a nosy neighbor who's more concerned about someone's trash barrels not being thrown out. It's like, what's this all about? And it's that same nurse who's in the emergency room, then she's in a psychiatric ward. How many jobs this girl has? The character, how many jobs this girl has, to make it clear, she's part of this movie. Just nothing in this movie makes sense. It's just really frustrating to really get through and watch. There are moments in this where I'm not even scared. I'm just like, what are we doing? Why are we having this movie? What's this movie supposed to be about? Why are we doing a sequel to The Exorcist? This movie proves there's no reason to have any sequels to the original movie. It's a standalone movie as it should have been. There shouldn't be any more franchises of this movie or whatever it is that Blumhouse wants to do. This movie to me is clearly they're just kind of taking the IP by name and they're just trying to grab a cash grab out of it and don't really have any care for the story, the characters, or anything that made the originals great and made people become horror fans or movie fans, and it just pisses me off that this is what Blumhouse has become now, where they're just taking IPs and just shitting on all of them or dumping them in the dumping for people to go see, which there's just no heart, nothing. It's just this movie was really frustrating to get through. I would say the second thing would be that I did like maybe some visionary parts I liked with certain things. We'll go into, obviously when we go into spoiler territory, but it's just certain things I did like at the end that they kind of show, which I wasn't expecting. But this movie's dog shit from beginning to end. If you're gonna watch this movie, watch it with caution, because you're gonna go walk out this theater going, what the fuck did I did watch? Although I'll say this, the highlight of the movie was an audience in front of me down a couple of rows stood up, gave us a standing ovation, and tells me this is the greatest movie she's ever seen. Granted, she's in her 70s. I found it hysterical. I'm like, okay, cool, but that was probably the highlight of this whole movie. My whole experience watching that movie was that part. Overall, I give this film a 0.5 out of 10. It is easily one of the worst rebooted sequels, requels that I've ever seen for a horror movie, maybe for a movie experience in total that I've ever seen.
John?
All right. Might as well go 3 for 3, right? For those that hate this film, they can take solace in the fact that William Friedkin is haunting the fuck out of David Gordon Green right now. So, a new film in the Exorcist franchise has been released and will be the start of a new trilogy of films by David Gordon Green, just like what was done with the Halloween franchise. Will it follow in the steps of the 2018 film, or will it go the way of the pathetic and lackluster sequels? Unfortunately, it's the latter. Quick recap of my thoughts on the Exorcist franchise as a whole. The first one is a decent effort, but it's pretty boring, and I was not a fan of its more documentary style. I found any scenes of Reagan being possessed to be unintentionally funny more than anything. However, Father Karras dealing with his faith and the third act saved this from being another Shining or Amityville horror levels of overrated. I have not seen the second film, and for good reason, and the third film is one of my favorite horror films of all time. I also have not seen either version of the Exorcist prequel, whether that be The Beginning or Dominion. I also have not seen the show, although I have heard good things. So I don't have a ton of attachment to this franchise, unlike Halloween, so I didn't know what to expect going in. Heard terrible things, but all I got was a very middle of the road generic possession movie that just so happens to bear the Exorcist name. I thought most of the acting was very good. I thought Aaron Burr, aka Leslie Odom Jr., was very good as Victor Fielding. He gave the performance with the most meat on the bones. Although Ann Dowd, Jennifer Nettles, and Lydia Jewett also give very good performances. Olivia O'Neill was decent, and Norbert Leo Butz, despite being a massive talent, was, for lack of a better term, theatrical here. Kind of over the top and a bit much, which is ironic since Odom is another Broadway actor and he was very grounded. The rest of the supporting cast was serviceable. Oh, yeah, and I almost forgot. Ellen Burstyn was in this too. A little wooden with her delivery, but since she was in the movie for like 5 minutes, it didn't really matter in the long run and was overall fucking pointless. The cinematography was quite good and competently shot. A creepy moment here and there, some jump scares, but there's little atmosphere and it's more boredom than anything. Ironically, just like the original. There was some creative editing here and there as well, and the music wasn't too bad. Maybe a little weirdly placed in certain areas, but nothing bad. I also like how the references to the original were minimized, and it was more so about telling a new story in this universe. A tubular bells here, a shop there, and that kind of thing. They're still there, but it doesn't overburden you with references. The characterization with much of the cast also falls flat in a lot of areas, which I will touch on soon. The story was every generic possession movie that you could possibly think of rolled into one. If you saw The Pope's Exorcist, you probably saw this movie, as Mark could probably vouch for. It's nothing to shake two shits at, and nothing I overwhelmingly hated to make me want the fury of William Friedkin to rain down upon David Gordon Green's house. Somewhat similar to Halloween Ends, it has a lot of ideas presented, but the way it misses the mark is different. Ends had its ideas and themes extremely poorly executed. Here, it's more like the ideas are presented and nothing is done with them because they simply wanted to show the cool, scary shit in regards to possession. Mainly with the third act, like the original, but it's not nearly as good or as interesting. The ideas presented are something of interest. The original film was all about the dichotomy of good and evil and its examination in regards to that. And then the subsequent films by William Peter Blatty were specific examinations of good and evil. The ninth configuration was all about what makes a man good and the goodness of humanity as a whole, while The Exorcist 3 was more about the intrigue of evil and how humanity can go so far into the realm of evil where it almost becomes one and the same with the work of the devil. This film is more about belief versus non belief, or belief versus skepticism, and how those certain aspects can either rise up or fall apart with how the situations in this film unfold. How it tries to broaden the lens of belief to other forms of religion. However, it just feels like they were doing it to make it feel bigger rather than doing it as some sort of examination, more of a throwing shit at the camera to see what would stick type of thing. The characterization majorly falls flat because you don't feel for any of these characters, and I feel like there's nothing to them. With the ideas simply just being kind of there, and Dowd's character could have been a lot more interesting and intriguing, but we got nothing. Victor could have more so dealt with the grief of the death of his wife. We got nothing. Tony and Miranda had nothing to work with. All these characters are so flat. Even Chris was not really all that interesting. I bet they're just going to use the bullshit excuse of just wait for the sequel, which I absolutely cannot wait for, he said sarcastically. So yeah, this movie is nothing special. It has a lot of problems. It has no reason to exist. It's tired, it's bland, and it doesn't use the ass load of ideas that they presented in any sort of way, creatively or not. The references are few and far between, which is nice, but we're left with pretty much nothing to care about or hang on to. Sure, I don't think it's ass garbage, but I still wouldn't recommend it. In terms of requels, I heard that the TV series was good, so watch that. Or watch Exorcist 3. But similar to the remakes of The Evil Dead and Dawn of the Dead, it's a generic, mediocre addition to the franchise that if it didn't have the IP attached, would just be a forgotten mess of a film. Maybe catch it on streaming if you're really that interested, but probably not. 5 out of 10.
Robert?
Okay. All right, let me pull up my review. And here we go. All right, so full disclosure, I am not a big, massive fan of like the whole Exorcist franchise. I like the first one okay, even though I do find it overrated. I'm not sucking its dick like some people here. I haven't. Fuck you. Anyway, as I was saying before this asshole booted me, I haven't seen the second one, but I heard pretty bad things about it. Third one, I honestly in the minority that I think the third one is the best out of all of them. The two prequels I haven't seen, and I haven't seen the TV series either. So going in to Exorcist Believer, my expectations were pretty low. I mean, the trailer didn't anger me. It just looked like a generic demonic possession film, and and to be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of the last film that David Gordon Green made. Though even with those expectations like being so low that they were touching dinosaur fossils, I still wanted to give it a chance, and plus, I agreed to do it for the show because I wanted to troll some of these assholes. Sorry, not sorry. But after seeing this movie, all I can say is, yeah, this movie sucks. Only positives I can think of, a handful of the performances are well done, like Leslie Odom Jr. and Ann Dowd. They do a good job with what they're given with, and there is some decent cinematography. But unfortunately, that's all I could really say in terms of the positives. As for the negatives, the rest of the acting is flat and lifeless. Not one, like aside from the ones I mentioned, everyone else just felt kind of bored. They didn't feel, everyone else just didn't give a shit to be in this movie. The music is so forgettable in this movie. None of the songs stood out, and yes, that does include the different rendition of Tubular Bells. Honestly, if you asked me to hum one piece of soundtrack in this, I wouldn't even do it because I saw it last night and I don't even remember a single one. The characters are dull, interesting, one-dimensional cardboard cutouts. No one stood out to the point where I don't even remember most of their names. Not to mention, there's no character development between any of them. The scares are non-existent. Nothing was scary in this film. In fact, during the possession scene, I was laughing more than being scared. Although, to be fair, it was kind of similar with my experience in the first one. But I digress. Ellen Burstyn's character, Chris McNeil from the first one, is very wasted. Very wasted. You could easily write her character out of this movie and nothing would change. The editing is so choppy, obnoxious, and just also poorly put together. The pacing is terrible. The scenes just drag on for way too long to the point where I was just getting bored through most of it. And that's another thing I want to bring up. This movie didn't anger me like some people here. It just more bored the ever-living shit out of me. Just because of these bad characters and the uninteresting story, I just really didn't give a shit about what's happened and just end up being bored through 90% of the movie. I mean, overall, what more can I say? Yes, it has a handful of good performances and decent cinematography, but that doesn't change the fact that it suffers from dull characters, uninteresting story, forgettable music, and terrible pacing. I don't recommend you see this movie, whether you're an Exorcist fan or not. It may not be my worst film. It may not be the worst film I've seen this year, but I wouldn't be surprised if this was in my top 10, and my rating is a 2 out of 10. Also, no, I don't regret the decision even after this piece of shit. Haha.
Mark.
Oh boy, where to start? Where to start? Jesus Christ. Oh boy. If we could just agree that David Gordon Green should never be allowed to do any more requels again, that would be great. The film The Exorcist, based on the best-selling book of the same name, is considered a classic for a reason. Like the book, it centers not on Reagan, as many mistakenly believe, but rather on the internal conflict within Father Karras and how it is shaped by the events that unfold. Therefore, the internal battle of faith versus skepticism within Father Karras mirrors and is informed by the epic battle between good and evil taking place in Reagan's bedroom. That's why the original remains a timeless classic, even in a more skeptical era where far more shocking scenes are commonplace than they were at the time. One would think this should be obvious given the title of the films, book, but it seems the shocking possession scenes with a very talented young Linda Blair garnered all the attention. Unfortunately, not unfortunately, I mean she's very good, but unfortunately detracting from the point, thus leading many viewers to miss the point entirely. Unfortunately. Thus, nearly every possession movie ever since attempts shock and awe with over-the-top scenes of gore and horror, lacking any attempt whatsoever at genuine character development or exploration of interesting themes like the original. Absent those things, it's just smoke and mirrors. We've already seen it once this year with the Pope's Exorcist, which attempted to marvelize the Exorcist into some sort of comic book franchise, complete with one-dimensional villains and bad CGI. Now, unsurprisingly, David Gordon Green has taken his turn at bat, missing the mark as he did with his Halloween requel trilogy, as poorly as a clumsy teenage boy fumbling his way around a woman's vagina for the first time. The main problem with this film is that David Gordon Green overstuffs the film to the point that character development comes across as an afterthought at best, and that's being generous. The father-daughter relationship between Leslie Odom Jr.'s Tanner and Lydia Jewett's Angela has potential, but nothing is done with it because the film is so jam-packed with meaningless characters that offer nothing to the film. There are 2 possessed girls, which means 2 sets of parents, plus 4 exorcists, 5 if you include the completely wasted Ellen Burstyn's Chris McNeil. It detracts from any possibility of genuine character development by packing the film with uninteresting one-dimensional characters. Although Ann Dowd and Akui Akpakwasili somehow manage to stand out from the rest. Despite the fact that they aren't given nearly enough screen time, it all leads to a jumbled, chaotic mess of a third act. And why is this done? All for the sake of a cheap gimmick of an ending, where the parents are forced to choose which girl lives and which girl dies. It's not a bad idea, but lacking the context of a compelling story filled with interesting characters and solid character development, it just comes across as smoke and mirrors, as hollow and dull as most other demon possession films since the original classic. By that time, you have long since checked out of the film, believe me. The whole film comes across as gimmicky, in fact, especially the weak tie-ins to the original. They come across more forced than natural. As already mentioned, Ellen Burstyn is wholly underutilized and mismanaged, offering nothing to the plot beyond bad dialogue that completely misconstrues her experiences in the original, which just goes to show that, once again, the point of that film went far over David Gordon Green's pointy little head. I'm the first to point out the rampant misogyny in the Catholic Church, among other issues, but that has absolutely nothing to do with why she wasn't allowed to witness her daughter's exorcism in the first film. Father Karras would never have allowed a woman who had become his friend to witness her daughter going through such a horrifying ordeal. To suggest otherwise dishonors both his memory and that of the film. He also disrespects the original by cannibalizing the dialogue, butchering tubular bells, and shoehorning in Linda Blair's Reagan at the almost literal last second. This film would have been far better served to have cut back on the gimmicks, pare down the cast, and keep the focus on the relationship between Tanner and Angela. Keep it in Haiti, where the mother dies, and use Akui Akpakwasili's Dr. Bahibi, or maybe even Ann Dowd's character Anne as the Exorcist. Make it an original film, but if you absolutely must make it a requel, then use Pazuzu and keep the original cast out of it, maybe with a mention of what happened. You could even use Ann Dowd's character and make her an old friend of Father Karras or Father Merrin as a way of tying them together. If you want to make it a trilogy, set each film in a different culture. Then again, that will require a level of subtlety and sophistication that David Gordon Green appears to lack entirely. Even in the one good film he has made among these requels, 2018's Halloween, he couldn't resist upping the violence and gore to 11. It worked fine for that film because it was a slasher, even if the original was far more subtle. The Exorcist, on the other hand, requires a scalpel in the steady hand of a surgeon, not a sledgehammer approach by a ham-handed butcher like David Gordon Green. Fuck this film. My rating is a 1 out of 10.
Before I get to you, Zach, 10th Circle of Hell?
Absolutely. Fuck it. 10th Circle of Hell. I got to come up with a clip for that. 10th Circle of Hell. Definitely.
All right, Zach, floor is yours.
All right. Before I get into my review, I do want to give an in-loving memory to the director of the original, William Friedkin. I may not be in love with the original like a lot of people, but the impact and the legacy of that film cannot be denied. I may not see it as one of the greatest horror films of all time, but the fact still stands. It genuinely is one of the greatest horror films of all time, if not one of the greatest movies of all time. So with that context, going in there with that context, I had no faith in this movie. Not just because of the fact that I'm not as in love with the original as a lot of people are, but the trailers didn't sell me. The trailers lacked that flavor and feel of The Exorcist. I just felt like I was watching trailers for random generic exorcism demon movies. And also the fact that, aside from how good The Exorcist 3 is, this should never have been a franchise. So any sequel you try to make to the original is bound to undo or dishonor something great about the original, like Mark just went into. Except for The Exorcist 3, which was done well. But I went in and watched it last night. I tried giving it a genuine chance, and it's a thumbs down for this movie. And that actually hurts to say, because there are actually some good ideas and characters in this. Stuff that would have all been better served as its own thing. But what fucks it all over, ironically, is it being the very thing it was advertised and even forced to be, being an Exorcist sequel. The first hour of the film actually had me a good bit. The acting was solid. The inciting incident that opens the film is a tragic one. That's all cool. So is the relationship between the main character and his daughter. He's a man who's lost his faith after losing his wife in an earthquake. And the whole idea that's revealed later in the film that you could save your wife or save the child. And while I don't think it brings an unlikable side to his character, knowing that he tried to save his wife over the kid, I actually think that gives a fair amount of depth to the character. It's underdeveloped because of the messy narrative and script, but I digress. But you see where I'm getting at here? This could all work on its own, as its own thing. But no, as soon as the girl's going all apeshit demon mode, and the actors from the original comes in to help, it falls apart. All the intrigue and interest that I had in the film for that first hour, it fucking lost me. And what's worse, they bring back Ellen Burstyn's character and not only do nothing with her, but the outcome of her role in this narrative, or lack thereof a role, is so fucking disrespectful to the legacy of this character. I literally screamed out, "Really? You brought her back just for this to happen to her? Gouge her eyes out, and then she just fucks off for the rest of the film? Are you shitting me?" As I mentioned before, I may not be in love with the original movie, but I love Ellen Burstyn's character. She's my favorite thing about the movie. So that insulted me just as much as pretty much everyone else here. It's no joke when I say that this may be the most frustrating movie of the year, because I see where and how this movie could work. I see the good movie that this could have been. This film honestly could have just been called The Believer, a story about a father who's lost his faith after losing his wife. but then has to work together with another family when both of their daughters are possessed by the same demon. With a bit of polish here and there in the script, keeping the same narrative mostly, and all the emotional depth, ingredients, and thematic elements, this could have maybe been one of the better demon possession films out there. You don't need the cameo from Ellen Burstyn, all the callbacks from the OG film. Everything else here, I honestly think is strong enough to work on its own. You could literally cut all the stuff tied to the OG Exorcist, and nothing changes narratively. Not to say that all of a sudden would be a perfect, flawless demon movie, but you get what I'm saying. It all would have been better structurally and tonally, because all the things that do work in the narrative would be developed better and be given more time to breathe, be fleshed out better. But no, Lord forbid anything resembling originality. It's always got to be tied to a franchise. So honestly, to wrap it up, your enjoyment level for this flick is all in the eye of the beholder. If you've seen the original film and you like or adore it to any extent, I guess maybe if you want to, you could go check it out to form your own opinion. Just reasonably lower your expectations and don't go in expecting anything near close to the impact of the original film. My rating, 5.5 out of 10.
You know what's bad when the biggest defender of the David Gordon Green trilogy doesn't even like the movie.
You know that we mean a lot. What?
Hey, you know what? Ellen Burstyn, she might have been stabbed in the eyes with a crucifix, but hey, in the end, she's only cross-eyed.
Also, I want to point something out. Devin, didn't you say don't interrupt anybody during their review?
Yeah, unfair, dickwad.
Exactly.
You interrupted him.
Thank you. Fans on yourself.
There you
but
go.
I do want to bring that up though, because I emphasize so much of that in my review, because that's the bulk of my problem with this movie. Is I like more the movie that this could have been rather than what it was actually turned into.
Kind of like what I thought with Halloween Ends. I'm like, I see what could have been done here, and someone with actual like writing talent could have made it work, but it fell so flat on its ass. It just the bar was so low, it was in hell, yet here you are limbo dancing with the devil. Like, Jesus Christ.
And give credit to these Halloween movies. Even if you don't like them, at least Jamie Lee Curtis was actually the heart and the point of at least the 2018 film from the get-go. They didn't just bring her in last minute as some desperate attempt to give it this legitimacy as a Halloween sequel.
Yeah.
And then they sidelined her in not one, but two of the movies.
Mm-hmm.
But,
and we were talking about this backstage. The fact that this is going to be a trilogy makes no sense, because the ending of this movie does not allude
to a sequel. The only thing I can maybe see for the sequel is that
God.
Are they going to travel to hell and fucking get the little girl's soul back or something? Honestly, that does sound awesome, but that's like the only thing they can fucking do.
And yes, they're going to do that. Wasn't that obvious? Was that not obvious that that's what they're going to do? That's why they had showed the demons taking the little girl down and shit.
Right.
Is it going to turn into Dante's Inferno? Is David Gordon Green just going to rip off Dante's Inferno for the Exorcist?
Why not?
Or hell,
of course he is.
You can't even do anything with Ellen Burstyn's character anymore because, like John said, she's cross-eyed.
Yeah, she's
for real. But joke aside, there's nothing you can do with her character now because she's
You know what?
You
No.
bring
Zach,
her
you know what
in.
they're gonna do? Devin, shut up for a sec. You know what they're gonna fucking do? The fact that she's blind, now she can see the demons more with her other senses, so she's not blinded by her ability to see, or some like bullshit. Like they're gonna fucking.
So they're going to rip off Dune Messiah.
There it
Fuck
is.
them. They're going to rip off Dune Messiah. Fuck
They're gonna fucking do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she's gonna be. So
Well,
she's
of
gonna be
course.
Daredevil.
She's gonna be Daredevil.
Yeah.
She's going to be the.
The demons can't
She's
get
going
to
to
her.
be the Kwisatz Haderach.
You know why?
Dune.
You know why? Because you know what they always say: the eyes are the window to the soul. They're gonna fucking like, the fact she doesn't have a window to
please.
her soul anymore. She's gonna be more powerful now.
Nudge.
Nuts to the window to your mouth. Fuck you, David Gordon Green. I swear.
I mean, David Gordon Green. It's clear he doesn't know how to write a sequel. Period. Like
He's a
2018 was his
It's-
best movie, and then after he just didn't know what to do with
Well,
sequels.
the thing is,
Just-
David Gordon Green's a good director when he's not doing shitty comedy movies or requels. Because I've
Exactly.
seen a bunch of his other movies. Joe was really great, and Stronger was really great, and he directed both of those. So, like,
He has
know.
a lot of genuinely beloved and critically acclaimed movies under his belt, actually.
yeah, when he does indie dramas, he's good. He's good. Like that's his bread and butter. Because I mean, his his directorial debut is a fucking Criterion. Like that's means at least a little something.
And we can't forget though, even if the rest of the trilogy didn't live up, his first Halloween film was good, the 2018 one.
But that's
Yeah.
again
That's what I was saying.
one good horror movie does not mean, hey, this is the go-to guy for requels.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, and really, Universal, you waste $400 million on this.
400 million.
Yeah, that's how much they pay
That's
for
how
the
much
rights.
this
That-
movie
that's
cost.
Well, no. That's how much
They paid for
Universal
the rights,
for the rights,
not even for the
IP.
fucking movie. The rights for this cost more than the fucking movie.
Yeah,
I was
like,
about to-
really?
Exactly.
I was about to fucking say, if this cost 400 million to make, there's no
It's
fucking way they're
worse.
making their money
Just
back.
for the rights,
Right.
it was 400 million.
Oh, by the way, the movie only made 2 million in Thursday previews, and overall has opened to just 11 million.
It's projected to make, I believe, 40 million.
And I just looked it up. By the way, the budget for this movie is 30 million.
Yeah, so this
Same
is
as
Halloween.
bomb hard.
Yeah.
Not like there was a ton of marketing, but plus marketing costs, I would say like maybe 50 million. That would be that maybe 50, 55 million.
It's probably
Plus
not
with like
gonna.
extra costs. This is gonna bomb and bomb.
Oh, it is gonna bomb. Yeah. And then not only that, because in a few weeks we'll be getting Killers of the Flower Moon and the Five Nights at Freddy's movie.
And that
yeah,
actually,
so in terms of horror, it's gonna lose, and in terms of actually good movies made by real auteurs, it's gonna fucking lose. So it's the lose-lose situation for this movie,
Yeah,
which is
and
good. But you know,
And look what came out a week ago. Saw X.
X,
and
yeah.
that's still making.
yeah,
And
it's
that was
sandwiched
actually
in
good.
between two
That's-
much better IPs.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it is sad, isn't it? When a sequel to The Exorcist, a direct sequel to one of the most beloved movies of all time, is outdone in quality by the 10th Saw movie.
Yeah, that's pretty fucking
Exactly.
sad. That is really fucking sad.
Oh yeah.
That is
But it's poetry.
What a twist!
Damn.
Devin, play the clip. It's like poetry.
I don't have the
Holy
What do you
shit.
mean you don't have that clip? Why don't you have that clip?
I
It's
don't
like
have the
poetry
clip.
rhymes.
But
Whatever stanza kind of rhymes with the last one.
but to be fair though, Saw
Hope it
X
works.
is fantastic. So I
It's
guess.
fantastic.
Oh, it is
Yeah.
awesome.
It's good.
But oh my lord, because it actually breaks my heart that this is gonna bomb. Because as I allude to my review, seeing the good movie this could have been if you strip away all the Exorcist shit, I wouldn't under that.
I still
context,
want to see Mark. I want to see our idea fucking make it. Just
because
like
under
have
that,
it take place in Haiti. she's pregnant, she gets possessed. Like, imagine a
Exactly.
pregnant woman possessed. That's got to be a lot of fucked up imagery.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. That would be great. Yeah, exactly.
Kind of.
Yeah, so under that
I was gonna make this joke, but like Dream Child, where Freddy's trying to get to the dreams of the baby.
No, it's more like
love
I
that
think
movie.
like it would use use it like maybe like in the way I would do it. In the beginning, it would like fuck up the father, like with ideas of like miscarriage, which is like which is horrible. Like that's like the most horrible, one of the most horrible things a woman can go through who's like having a child, like easily.
Yeah.
So themes of that could be really horrifying, and like fucking with the father's head, who would act like in this case, in the way I would do it, he actually wants the kid, unlike in the movie we got. Like that would fuck up his head. And then like there's the idea like maybe the baby could be possessed, maybe it can't, because remember, Mark will back me up on this, being also in a Catholic raised household, babies until they are baptized are technically their original sin is not washed away. So if a baby dies or is aborted or whatever, it goes to limbo. So like, does this demon have power over it or not? Can it possess it or not? Because it's sort of like the weird gray area for a fetus. So that could bring in some interesting ideas, and then using voodoo and hoodoo and all that stuff to hopefully exorcise the child, or exorcise the woman and maybe the child.
those are some pretty deep psychological ideas that I could see a movie on the same line of quality as the original being able to execute pretty
Yeah.
well.
Get ready, ladies
Absolutely.
and gentlemen, on the Geek Informant channel. How to fix The Exorcist Believer.
The Exorcist. No, I'm doing the whole trilogy. I'm doing what Mark said. I'm gonna give Mark credit, and then I'm just gonna. That's what I'm gonna do, because it would have been way more fucking interesting than this bullshit.
Yeah,
I
you
didn't hate it because it's like, again, I see what Zach is saying. Like, I see like some interesting tidbits like here and there. I'm not saying it's good. I mean, it's 5 out of 10. So it's like
I actually
middle
think
of the
it
road.
could have been good. I'm not saying it'd be
maybe
perfect
but, like,
or flawless,
you know,
but
it's just like but it's like so weird. Like you have like really good talent in this movie. Like Ann Dowd's a very good actor. She's more of a character actor, but she's normally in, like, she was excellent in Leftovers. From what I watched of it, she was really good in that. She's been in a lot of really good stuff, and she could have been. And what they teased to in this movie, it could have been really interesting. Again, like the idea of faith and whatnot. And like I did like the ideas of like hope and all, and like the reason that religion has like been a thing for so long is like the togetherness of people. I get that, but then there's also, you got to think of it as a film, and it's gonna be overstuffed. There's too much going on, and it just feels like overburdening the audience with like sensory overload. It just doesn't.
probably because there was 55 minutes cut out of this, or at least so I read.
That would not surprise me.
55 minutes. The movie was already 2 hours.
Yeah.
Oh, and I read none of those scenes were anything with Ellen Burstyn. Literally, all we got with Ellen Burstyn is literally all there was.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
So basically the trailers.
Yeah.
And the commercials.
Yeah. They could
Yeah,
have said,
pretty much.
if they wanted to do like we were talking about last night, like John and I were talking about, if they wanted to do different cultures, they could have done a different culture in each film. He could have saved that in each film. You know, he wanted to do different faiths, he could have done different ones in each film. You know, I mean,
yeah, and how like the different names and all that, like kind of like what the best. I'm sorry, but the best like thing I could come up with, like the best comparison, is like what they did for like Rick Warden's books, like Percy Jackson and the Olympians, how they have like Greek, Roman, they had and Egyptian, and like all these different cultures, but how they're like kind of one and the same, but there's certain differentiations between them, and like they could make that like work. Whether this be an Exorcist like story or not, like the idea of like different cultures, how they handle exorcism or religion, that could have been really fucking interesting. but
Yeah.
no, that would make too much sense.
But the thing is, even though everything I just shat on, I'm still gonna buy this movie for one reason.
Fuck.
Because I'm going to try to do a fan edit. Cut all the shit having to do with the callbacks and the Exorcist shit. I want to try and prove that this could have worked better as its own thing. Because that's honestly what this movie feels like. Doesn't this feel like it was intended to just be one of the many generic exorcism films out there, but they just said, let's make this into The Exorcist?
No, it feels like David Gordon Green didn't know what the fuck he was doing.
But I'm going to try and do that because
Or the
I
writers.
see the potential there. You
Big, gigantic cocks.
What
Hey,
is
Jack.
What do you
Hey,
say?
Jack.
Me too, Jack.
What's up, Jack?
But yeah, that's what I'm gonna try and make a fan edit of this because I want.
Well, you
I'm,
know,
That could be interesting.
I'm
I did look
honestly
up-
curious to see if this could work if you cut all the Exorcist shit out of it.
Yeah, I know. I know how to fix the movie.
Don't make it.
Don't make it.
Yeah.
Just grab a
Yeah.
get a time machine. Build a time machine. Go to the pitch meeting. Where they said, "Hey, let's do an Exorcist trilogy and let's have David Gordon Green do it." Show up to that meeting. Look at Jason Blum. Kick him in the balls, and just go back.
Super easy, barely an inconvenience.
An inconvenience.
Oh, kicking nuts is tight.
Tight.
Wow!
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Have they
Or
done
the
one yet?
body in the blood is tight.
Well, I was trying to say earlier. I know I did look it up that they had one of the Firestarter writers to write this movie with David Gordon Green.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
No
And Danny
wonder this
McBride,
was
yeah.
bullshit then. 'Cause-
Yeah.
Oh my!
Yeah.
Anyway, and he wrote
Wait,
he
wait,
wrote
wait,
out
wait,
Charles
Hold on. I
Dance
did want
explains
to
it.
ask. Wait. I did want to ask some for the people that know the movie better than me. Where does the beginning with Father Marin take place in the original? Is it the Middle East or is it?
Yeah, it's in Iraq.
Middle
Iraq.
East.
At least, yeah.
Iraq.
Because
Yeah.
then I would say, like, because
Iraq
in terms
specifically.
of different cultures and different religions, have the first move. Well, I would love to have it like in Haiti, but have the first movie take place in Iraq, so you have the one that's
Islam.
most
Yeah,
connected
that'd be
to the original.
Yep.
Because that's where the beginning of the original movie takes place, and then move on to like other cultures.
Oh, that would be good. Islam. Oh,
Oh, yeah.
dear God. Yeah, I'd love
Well,
to see that.
plus,
Yeah, and then like Haiti would be really cool.
Mhm.
Japan could be
Mhm.
really cool.
Yeah.
And then you also mentioned Latin America because Mexico is very
Yeah,
heavily
well,
religious.
exactly. We're going to do and wind up with
Fuck
the
it, make it a
Catholic
saga.
Church in
Make
Latin
it, instead of
America.
a trilogy, fuck trilogies. Make it a saga.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And and keep it and remember. And do you guys remember how powerful that the opening to the original was? Like without like very little dialogue, Marin, he sees that statue of Pazuzu,
Mm-hmm.
and without saying anything, you see the look on his face. Like, yeah, I've seen this before.
Both by Rennie Harlan and Paul Schrader. Has anyone even seen the prequels, either version?
I've seen the
I've
beginning.
I've seen
watched it
Dominion.
the other day.
I've heard they're both bad.
Like,
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Like-
Pretty much.
like the night that I got home from seeing the original in the theaters because it was the 50th anniversary re-release. I watched The Exorcist 3 because that's the only other one I like. Then I gave the prequels a chance, and it's just I actually went in without the knowledge, knowing that they were supposed to be different versions of the same story. So I was like, wait a minute. So I didn't know that was what happened. So I was like, wait a minute. What?
I think what it is, the fact that Dominion was made first, and then when test audiences really hated it, they said fuck it, and then scrapped everything and started from scratch and made
Mine
That's
was
exactly
versions
what
of-
happened.
And they hired the guy who did Die Hard 2.
Like neither version.
Sure,
was
why
Yeah,
not?
get rid of the guy who wrote Taxi Driver and get the guy who did Die Hard 2.
Like
Okay.
neither version was good.
What?
But
What?
neither version was good at all. But I don't know about y'all, but I actually think Dominion was better. between the two.
I've heard that, like, I would say, from what I have heard in terms of it versus it, I've heard that more people usually go for Dominion because it had more of like a vision behind it, and it didn't have as many bullshit inserted references to the original film in it. So, that's just what I've heard.
Exorcist: The Beginning, the Justice League of horror movies.
Yeah.
And I kind of was there even really an explanation as to how was Pazuzu just was the demon even confirmed to be Pazuzu?
I don't think Pazuzu was even said in the original film.
No, he wasn't. Yeah,
Yeah,
he
that
wasn't
wasn't
mentioned
until
until the second one.
Yeah,
It wasn't until the second one.
because I know in the book it was Pazuzu, but then
Yep.
William Peter Blatty's like, hold on, we're trying to make a very scary film, and the demon is called Pazuzu. Let's just get rid of that for now.
I'd assume it was the same demon because in this movie she's saying, "I know who you are. We've met before."
I am.
I do believe he's mentioned in the book, right?
No, it is mentioned in the book. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, Pazuzu's mentioned in the book. Yeah,
But I know for a fact it's not mentioned in the movie because I remember when Red Letter Media was doing a review for something else, they mentioned The Exorcist, and Jay was like, "Yeah, they did the smart thing by not mentioning the demon whose name is fucking Pazuzu." I think that's when they were doing a Best of the Worst, and they were doing Exorcist 2 for that.
I mean, isn't that pretty much confirmation that it was the same demon?
Yeah, I mean, I would assume it's like, even though there's probably millions upon millions of demons, they somehow got the same
just
fucking
because,
one.
Ellen Burstyn was she was saying, we've met before. I know who you are. You know me or something. So
Unless they did the thing where she like went, she's not an exorcist. They specifically say she's not an exorcist. She's an exorcist expert.
And yet she tries to
That's
exercise.
somehow different.
I was gonna say,
So maybe it's like like in between the movies, she went on multiple exorcisms and like met other demons. That's the only thing I could think of that I could see David Gordon Green pulling that out of his ass if enough people complain about that. Like, oh no, she was on multiple other exorcisms and it's a different one. I swear.
If you say so. And even, and I guess in this movie it is Pazuzu, because when you see
they say Pazuzu in the movie. I saw that. I heard that in this movie.
Yeah, and you see the face, like, yeah, that's clearly Pazuzu.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't it just feel so fucking forced? Like what John just said. There's millions of demons in the world, and it had to be the same demon. Are you fucking serious?
Well, that's definitely Pazuzu.
I mean, it's just, it didn't have to be. I mean,
at least with Exorcist 3, it wasn't a demon; it was a serial killer.
Yeah, well, I mean, he was possessed. I mean, no, he was possessed by the same demon. I think, yeah, because the demon left Father Karras when he died and went into him.
Oh yeah, take me!
Yeah, it did.
Take me!
Threw out of the water. Threw out the window.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, that made sense. So it was a continuation. So I mean, but this, I mean, right. I don't know. They didn't have to do the same fucking demon. I mean, but I mean, like in the book, he's explained it further. He's like, he was like one of the Mesopotamian gods, one of the Sumerian gods of something or another. I don't know. So I mean. So I don't know.
And yes, I heard Mark mention it. We mentioned it during the Oppenheimer review. Yes, the body and the blood scene. Is just
body in the blood.
It's just as fucking stupid and hilarious as it was in the trailers. We know the whole shtick. Rob, come on. Come on. All right. Yeah, that's it, Zach. Start clapping your hands. Yeah. Rome. Come on, snap. Yeah. John, feel the Holy Spirit in you.
No.
Feel the Holy Spirit in all of you. Body in the blood. Body in the blood. Come on, come in the blood. Come on, y'all. Come on. Body in the blood. Yeah. Body in the blood. Woohoo. Yeah.
I mean,
You know
I even remember hearing Ben laugh at that part so much.
Yeah. The only reason I chuckled is because I know Devin made fun of it so much. I never really found it all that funny, but that's just me.
It is the evil dies tonight line of the Exorcist franchise.
Well, I mean,
Body in the blood dies tonight.
you know what the thing is?
Pazuzu dies tonight.
I didn't grow up Catholic, by the way. I grew up like hardcore, like
I grew
Southern
up Catholic too.
I grew up Southern Baptist. I did not grow up Catholic. I grew
Okay,
up Southern
my bad. Sorry, I thought you.
That's all right. But either way,
Well,
I
I
mean,
know
the point is-
what I meant was heavily religious.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, very heavily religious. Yeah. But I mean, hey, little B.
I got your beer.
Thank you. Yes. Which I need it badly now.
Ah.
See this shit. Sorry, baby. But what was I saying?
Something
I don't know,
about
what are
being
you
Southern
saying?
Baptist.
Oh yeah. You know, I view the film differently now than I did when I first saw it when I was a kid, when I was a young teenager. At the time, of course, you know, I really believed that, you know, this shit could happen. Now I don't, but I mean, now I don't. But the thing is, what's scary about it to me is the loss of innocence, because you could really see Linda Blair really did a fantastic fucking job. She did so great. She was so well directed by William Friedkin. She came across as this really just totally sweet, purely innocent little girl, just like she was in the book. And that's what makes it so horrifying, that loss of innocence.
Especially when you're bringing in the scenes where she does that to herself with
Yeah,
the
exactly.
crucifix. And like
Exactly.
it's a little bit, that's a little bit more hitting the nail on the head, a little bit too obvious. But even then, like, yeah, like there is also that you don't really get that here. You just get like two little
plus,
girls get possessed.
The
and then-
original.
Yeah, but I mean, what you know? What's the thing is, what everybody misses. What I was trying to say is, everybody focuses on that to the exclusion of the real point of the film, which was the character development. It was all about, like my man said here, my follicularly challenged brother here said, it's all about the character development, that internal battle between faith versus skepticism and doubt and despair within Father Karras, and how, you know, it's shaped and informed by this epic battle between good versus evil, with him trying to help this little girl. Yeah, because that's
This
what
movie. This movie needed a Father Karras.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, we don't get that. We get
a Father Baron.
Maddox on screen for 5 minutes, and then his neck snaps, and that's it. That's all we get.
Yeah, exactly.
We could have gotten that with Ann Dowd. That's the thing. Like,
Yes.
imagine,
Yes.
and that could have been really powerful, as I mentioned in my review. We could have gotten like bite with that character, how she was supposed to be a nun, and then she did the cardinal sin of every conservative of getting an abortion, and like she was automatically disavowed and like was not allowed to be a nun. So you could have had this person who was quote unquote not viewed as like a real like religious person in the eyes of the church be the exorcist. That they tried to do that, but it fell so flat because everything was so flat in this movie. Like, we got nothing. If it was more about like her and like her battle, that could have been really interesting, a good like nice twist on that. And but you know, we didn't get that.
And that right there, John, you just answered the question of what was the majority of the 55 minutes cut from this movie was with Ann Dowd's character.
Well, you know what? I mean,
shocked, I tell you, shocked. Not that shocked.
So did anybody
Oh,
laugh
wait,
when like
wait, hold on. I actually have that clip.
I am shocked. Shocked. Well, not that shocked.
Yes.
But
agreed. And absolutely.
Yeah.
We all agree with this.
Yes. David Gordon, white titties green.
Get that.
Yeah,
David
exactly.
Gordon, get your awful
Right,
fucking humor out of this franchise.
David
I will
Gordon
say,
Green
okay,
is
I will
absolutely
give this
worthy of
movie
being a white
this.
titties.
I will give this movie this over kills and ends. It didn't have an overburden of stupid comedy. I will give it that. Like the gay couple in
Pretty good
Kills.
comedy.
Yeah. Yeah, it didn't have. It
That's
didn't
like
have.
the one thing he listened to in terms of fans. He didn't put.
There was no terrible comedy.
There was no. The only thing you had like a couple
It was
lines
boring
from
shit.
Victor's friend, but like that's it. That's like that was like the extent of like the cringy comedy, which I'll give it that.
Yeah.
I'll give it.
I
that.
There
had
was
a-
no.
But it's
There was
boring
no,
as shit. Jesus Christ.
There was a lot of like for me, I was laughing at parts where, like, for example, the whole priest and the Catholic saying they're gonna perform the exorcism, and then at the end you see Father Maddox like, yeah, I can't perform the exorcism. Here's a Bible. Good luck to you guys.
Yeah, exactly. It's so fucking
I
ridiculous.
started
Jesus.
laughing so
Well, I
hard.
tried.
was
That's it. I
ridiculous.
mean, Jesus Christ.
And then he's in
I
the
mean-
car later on, just doing a prayer. Like, what the fuck?
Why are you
Wait,
saying
really?
And then they got to do the thing. Oh, he's gonna come in and be the Deus. Oh wait, no, his neck got snapped.
Yep.
Okay, that's it.
I didn't
Get
like
it? We're subverting expectations again, guys.
I didn't
Yeah.
like Father Maddox.
twist!
I didn't like Father Maddox because he was way too over the top for me. I didn't like the pastor, whatever his name was, because was just called the pastor because he was way too over the top for me. I mean, just not over the top, just bland. You know, I mean, they had no reason to be there. The only interesting ones to me, like I said, were the voodoo priestess and Dowd's character. Who is fantastic on The Handmaid's Tale. Yeah, she's fantastic.
Honestly, God, I don't know if anyone else pointed this out, but the little white girl, her family is doing the whole like they're not taking her to a hospital. Just get it?
Yeah.
We want to heal our sick daughter with prayers and faith and not actually get her medical attention. Do you get it? Do you get it? Do you get it? Stop treating your audience like we're fucking stupid, Grain.
Oh god.
Yeah, it's just like, and for like, and it's funny because like a lot of the movie, which I was surprised about, wasn't shitting on the Catholic Church that much, which was surprising. And then like in the second half of the movie, it was like just like nonstop, like, oh yeah, the Catholic Church is evil and terrible, especially in the third act, where it's like, oh, the voodoo person does something, but the church doesn't. Look how sucky the church is. Like, okay, again, this is what I'm so sick of. Like, I'm not gonna act like I'm like a fan of organized religion. I'm not, but like, it just nowadays is just so tiring with the anti-religious sentiment. I'm so sick of it. Like, I'm genuinely fucking sick of it. Like, it just we've get it non-stop, and it's just so boring and annoying at this point. That's why I will always praise Midnight Mass, because Mike Flanagan knew making it anti-religion would have been fucking boring. He made it anti-extremist and anti-asshole because that's interesting and would have a point.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Mike Flanagan is also a better writer and director.
Speaking of,
He
I
made Dr.
cannot
Sleep,
fucking wait
so
for the
that's
fall
a
of the
good
House of Usher later this month. I am so fucking excited for that.
Me
I've
neither.
heard
It looks
nothing
so
but amazing.
it looks so good.
It looks so fucking good.
Yeah, and plus, like I said, Dr. Sleep. I love that movie so much.
Everything
Dr.
he's
Sleep
done
is
has been
fantastic.
fantastic. The only things that are like iffy for me are Midnight Club and Haunting of Bly Manor, but still, those are still good. Those
Hey,
are
I
still
love
very
Haunting of
good.
Bly Manor. I love. I like it better than the original. I'm sorry.
Because,
how was Gerald's Game?
Gerald's Game was excellent.
Gerald's Game is good.
Gerald's Game is really good.
Absolutely.
Gerald's Game is really
I gotta
good.
watch that.
Oh yeah, Jesus Christ.
You know this movie's in trouble when they don't even have any kind of sinister music in the opening logos, right at the beginning. Like in the Halloween films, you had that
It's
classic.
like it was like I felt the music just wasn't great, but wasn't bad. I mean, it's not Tubular Bells, obviously. Even though technically that wasn't even a horror. Even though technically Tubular Bells wasn't even like a horror theme, it was like some like experimental like instrumental rock opera by some guy that like William Friedkin used.
Like I said in my review, the music was just very forgettable. I don't remember.
It was like
any
generic
of it.
horror music. It wasn't like anything bad, but it wasn't
with
great.
the Universal logos, because
It was just
in the
a
Halloween
genius.
movies, you had that classic John Carpenter synth to get you in the mood right away. But in this, They all
that's
right away with the logos, and there's no music. Were they too lazy with the
but
editing?
no, but that's because wait a second. That's because John Carpenter and his son actually did
Thank you.
the
Yeah.
music for that movie. Whereas this, they just kind of jazzed up Tubular Bells, and it just sounded stupid. You know,
Yeah.
it just sounded
And it's a
dumb.
shame because the composer, I forget his name, but he does a lot of collaborations with Jeff Nichols and David Gordon Green, and he's a very good composer. For the movies I've seen that he did with Jeff Nichols, which were Take Shelter and Mud, were very good. So I don't know what he was doing. Maybe it was the other composer because there was two of them. I don't know, but I don't know what. Maybe he drank a lot and he's like, all right, I'm just getting money for this. Might as well just shit out some Kevin MacLeod crap and then just call it a day.
Yeah, I still love the score in the original. Actually, Tubular Bells is actually my ringtone.
Nice.
Sweet.
Yeah, that's my ringtone, and the Halloween theme is my alarm clock.
Nice.
Now I gotta ask. We all obviously agree that the only good Exorcist movies are 1 and 3. But I gotta ask.
Yeah, for me,
I would say 1.5 for me. I'm still not a huge fan of the original, but that's just
Okay,
me.
but I gotta ask. Do you guys think that this one is the worst of all the movies?
I mean, I would say I haven't seen Exorcist 2.
I haven't
Not
seen
as bad
Exorcist
as 2.
I haven't seen
I haven't
2.
seen
I haven't
2.
seen either of the prequels. I guess by technicality, yes, it would be. But then again, the only ones I've seen were the first and third one.
It's been a long time since I've seen 2, but I mean, for me, Believers just. I might have it over 2 now until I see 2, maybe parts of 2 again later on someday, just to compare it.
You want
really
to
want to.
At least you got to give it this. Exorcist 2 has a drunk Richard Burton. At least that's always fun.
Yeah, but it also has
Locust and it has. Oh, sorry.
James Earl Jones spitting a tomato.
And him just randomly showing up. And then he just randomly turns into a fucking leopard.
Ah!
If we're talking about like horrible trailers, oh my god, the Exorcist 2 trailer is bad. Like that tells you the movie you're getting.
No,
Yeah,
these trailers
isn't
do
it like
pretty
the
much
guy
as well.
who directed the second movie hated the first one?
Yes, he did.
Yeah. I actually want to see. I actually plan on seeing the second one just out of morbid curiosity.
Yeah.
So
No,
We could bad movie roast
Nope.
that. We could
Yeah.
bad movie roast that.
I'm
Yeah,
down with
that's
that.
Pretty
Yeah,
sure that I'm almost positive that's on the list.
yeah, it's on Max.
What?
Poor
Okay,
Jesus
hang
Christ.
on. You get rid of half of your classic movie library, David Zaslav, you fucking ignorant sack of shit, but you keep Exorcist 2 the Heretic. What the actual fuck?
that is like literally
That's
one of the
oh
worst
my god! Like
films
Warner
of
Brothers,
all time.
What kind of place is this?
fucking Warner Brothers, man, continues to fucking just pull stupid ass shit. Like I remember I had a list of movies to watch, and like 10 of them were on Max, and then when I went to go look again, they were all gone. I'm like, really? Like Boogie Nights used to be there, it's not anymore.
Mhm.
It's just like, okay, yeah.
Hmm.
I love how this
Yeah.
always devolves into hating on Warner Brothers and David Zaslav, even though it's not
And-
even a fucking Warner Brothers movie.
The original's a Warner Brother the original's Warner Brothers, but now it's Universal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
But
so the Exorcist franchise and Christopher Nolan have something in common. Was originally at Warner Brothers and then jumped ship to Universal.
different.
If you had a
differences-
nickel for every time that happened, John, you would have. Which
But the
isn't-
difference is,
I got it. Okay, let's move on.
but the difference is, Oppenheimer was actually, fucking awesome.
Still have to see
This-
that, by the way.
Was not.
Nope. But yeah, overall, we're an hour and 14 minutes in. Mark, what do you want to say?
You're muted.
I know. Nothing. I had nothing to say. Just saying that he was right.
All right, so overall, do we recommend Exorcist Believer?
Never, not in a million years. Absolutely not. No way, Jose. No chance, Lance. And yet, negatory. Nah. And of course, my own personal favorite of all time, man falling off of a cliff. No.
Yeah. Don't heed our warning. Do not watch it. Do not pay for this. This needs to bomb so they can get the memo. This is not the go-to guide for requels. Watch the original. Watch Exorcist 3. Read the novel.
Watch
That's
the
all.
fucking TV show.
Or
I heard the TV show was actually not bad.
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
no,
I was
no,
Didn't you say
I was
season
gonna
one
say-
was pretty good?
gonna say,
Yeah,
to
season
anybody,
one's
to anybody watching, just know we sat through this shit, so you don't have to.
Thanks.
And I do want to bring this up before we wrap up. This movie was so bad. This wasn't even worth AMC Stubbs A-list.
We are
or
not.
Roseburg Cinema.
It's shit
Hold
on top
on.
of shit, buried in shit.
Honestly, just release a different cut of this. Cut out all the Exorcist shit in it. It's better off as its own standalone movie. I stand by that.
So, this movie was fucking horrible. Do not watch it. To anyone who
Go
watched,
watch Saw
to
X.
anyone who watched the stream, thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned for possibly another special stream, as well as a review of the newest Martin Scorsese movie, Killers of the Flower Moon, hosted by John. Subscribe to our channel, subscribe to our individual channels in the description below. And always remember, your mother sucks cocks in hell.
Once again, we have brought light into the universe. You're welcome, America.